Good morning. Some of you may not know me. I've been gone for about, 3 years now? But I grew up in this church. My mom and dad, that's John and Wanda Pearson. I remember I went through Awanas in this church. I went through the whole youth group thing in this church, and I got out. And so now I'm in Dallas, attending college, 1 year away from graduating, so that's pretty exciting. And so what I wanted to do, I got the opportunity to come here and do, is to give you kind of a quick college recap and something that I feel like I've learned in college and that I can share with my church family. And so I actually want to start out with this video. I'm involved in a group called Focus, Fellowship of Christian University Students, and we made a video for the introduction of our school year this year. And some of it is kind of Focus lingo, so you might not understand it, but it's quite entertaining. So go ahead, Fred.
Hello?
Yo, Sir AK, it's that time of year again.
What are you talking about, man? It's summer.
Nah, dude, Focus is tonight, and course starts this week. Where's JD?
Focus is tonight? JD's been lifeguarding all summer. I wonder if he's been tanning.
Dude, we're gonna spit hot fire to these new students. We're gonna show them what the Focus life is all about.
Spit hot fire? Why didn't you just say so?
Oh man, you ready?
Yo, Saab, let's do this. Step up on the scene, make it rain like locusts. Ain't talking about the plague, man, it's Friday Night Focus. We about to turn it up, son, for 2013. We about to make it sweet, Lipton tea.
Yeah, my name is JD, I'm the Focus president, UV resident, God Squad regiment. Yeah, I'm not heaven sent, and I'm not 50 Cent, but your boy can straight flow. Find me, Nemo.
I bring the heat like LeBron, so you know I make it burn. Undergrad to grad school, then a Focus intern. I'm a student for life, your boy loves to learn. You should read a book too, Eugene McDerm. Focus Friday nights, every single week. This ain't youth group, son, this is campus ministry. Wanna make a change, man? Get down and watch some feet. Be about that Focus life right here at UTD. Catch me on the courts, but your boy ain't tryna win. Bout that outreach, man. Hey, what's up, Tim? But your boy will straight cross from the left to the right. Shoot the J like Jake Kidd. I cast my nets wide.
Step up in the S, you know what I be doing. Chick-fil-A in my right, and your boy is straight cruising. Anybody wanna study FOJ? Discipleship life, lesson 8.
We about that Focus life, you better believe it. FOJ, Fodge Foge, try Focus on Jesus. Wanna go to camp? Don't let your debt get heavy. Think twice, or you'll be hearing from Debbie.
I wanna ask a girl out, where do I begin?
This is UTD, my friend, you're gonna fit right in. Just be bold and show her how a godly man be. Just don't take her to your bro's land party.
If it's your first year here, listen up to my words. Don't spend your time gaming away. Angry birds, be purposeful, and you'll see your fruit unravel. Only one freshman year,
Unless
time travel.
Focus Friday nights, every single week. This ain't youth group, son, this is campus ministry. Wanna make a change, man? Get down and watch some feet. Be about that Focus life right here at UTD. Focus Friday nights, every single week. This ain't youth group, son, this is campus ministry. Wanna make a change, man? Get down and watch some feet. Be about that Focus life right here at UTD. Yeah, Friday nights, purple tights, Canada, holiday, cold as ice, Coach Bombay.
Oh no. So that's what I've been up to for the past 3 years. That was something fun that we did in about a week, and I thought it'd be fun to kind of show you guys that if you hadn't already seen it, and if you had seen it, it's always good to see it more than once. So you can go ahead and put that slideshow up. So what I'm going to do for the first couple of minutes right now is kind of give a quick college recap of just how God has been working in me and working in UTD and UNT and all the other campuses involved with Focus. I don't know if you can see this picture super well, but this is a bunch of gingers It's a bunch of redheads, and we kind of took a picture together since we're such a rare breed. So this next one is, so I'm first want to talk about Focus. Focus is campus ministry that reaches across UTD, UNT, Collin College, Richland, just all around that kind of DFW area, in that Richardson, Denton area. And it's comprised of probably about 500 people. And I've just seen it grow so much since I've gotten there, and it's been such a blessing to get to be a part of that. First 4 years of being when I was in the youth group for 4 years, I actually led with bass guitar and worship band, and I took a year off of that. But it's kind of hard to see. This is a really hard picture to see, but this is like me in the back, and I'm helping lead worship there. I've been doing that for about 2 years now, and I'm also training a guy to do it. And then this is me and Sirach. I love this picture. I'll be talking about Sirach later. Sirach's been one of my best friends in college. He's the guy I did the rap video with, and he has just been a huge blessing for me in college so far. So core is what we like to call the core of our ministry, which is the small group Bible studies. We have two. It's gender specific. 2 people lead it, and it ranges anywhere from 5 to 20 people inside of them. This is my core from this year. We took a selfie before this guy right here went to Kansas City for a job. This is my Corfa leader. I've been leading with him now for a year and a half, and he's been such a blessing to me. These 3 guys, it's a lot harder to see these pictures than I thought it'd be. These 3 guys are 3 guys that I actually sent, or that were in my core last year, and I sent to a leadership conference in Washington that I got to attend after my freshman year. And this right guy and this middle guy are both core leaders now, actually. They're both sophomores and they're core leaders. And then this guy is in this guy's core, and he's been really, really awesome. And I also have another guy that I studied the Bible with that was a core leader at Collin College as well. This is another picture of the core that I was involved in this year, and this is last year's. One of the things that I had asked God to do for me this year that I prayed really hard about was that God would expand my heart for international students. Because I grew up in Holiday. You don't see a lot of people from overseas, especially Asian and Indian. And I had never really gotten to know an international student before. And so this year, not only did I get to study the Bible with the guy, this guy right here, Monty, he goes by Monty, get to study the Bible with him one-on-one. We just finished up. We're going to be continuing that in the summer. But God actually put 5 international students in my core. And that 2 from Taiwan and 3 from China. And I feel like God definitely did that for a purpose, and I've really gotten to learn what it's been like to not only love like American people that can, that speak your language fluently and understand the culture, but to love people that they come here maybe not with a lot of money, not with a place to live, not with much furniture, and you kind of have to, they don't know the culture, they don't know the American references, maybe a little bit about sports or music or videos, and you kind of have to learn to adapt to that and to love that, and it's been such a blessing. So the title of this sermon, I'm going to call it Vulnerability in Initiating Friendships. And what does that mean? What does that mean to be vulnerable in initiating friendships? I'm going to start off with a story. So there's this British TV show. It's a game show called Golden Balls. And how it works is there's like 6 contestants, and they compete in all these different random events. And the whole purpose of it, though, is to get 2 contestants with a certain amount of money accumulated up so far, and you set them down in front of one another, and you give them each of them 2 balls. They get a ball that says steal and a ball that says split. They sit in front of each other, and they talk out what they're going to do. If they both choose split, they split the money. If they both choose steal, neither one of them gets anything. If one chooses split and one chooses steal, then the person that chooses steal gets all of it. And it's typical game theory. And so what happens in this, I wanted to show a video, but it didn't convert very well. But what happens in this one episode is there's a a guy that's probably about 55, 60 years old, and there's a girl that's probably about 20 to 25 years old. And they've made it to the end, and they've actually accumulated what is one of the highest totals on there, which is about 100,000 pounds. And they get to the end, and they look at their balls, and they to see which one is which. They start talking it over, and right away the guy's like, he's like, hold on, I need you to listen to me. I want to split this. I have so much I can do with this money, 50,000 pounds. I've got 2 grandkids. I've got a family that I could help use this for. I want you to know that I'm going to split this. I need to know that you're going to split this with me. And she's like, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure you're going to split this? And he's like, yes, I could never do anything different. I have a family, and they would disown me if I ever chose to steal from a woman like you. And she's like, yeah, I got a family sitting over there as well. I don't know what they would think either. And he's like, so you're going to split it, right? You're going to split it. And she's like, yeah, we'll split it. You're going to split it, right? I need to know that you're going to split it. Yeah, we'll split it. And so they both choose their golden balls, and they reveal, and he chose split, and he's got this big grin on his face thinking about what he's going to do with it. And she reveals steal, and she just looks away. And you just see him his head just falls into his arms. He can't believe it. He thought he was 50,000 pounds richer. And he walked away with nothing. And she can't even look at him. And when I saw this video, I was like, okay, JD, put yourself in that situation. What would you do? And I said, well, I'm going to steal. No doubt in my mind am I going to steal. I don't care if we walk away with nothing. You will not make me a sucker. I will not be tricked. Which seems kind of logical, right? You didn't invest any money into the game show. Walking away with nothing just means that you had a good time. But it'd be better to walk away with nothing to watch that other person walk away with money that you should have had, or could have had, or would have had, however you want to phrase it. And the more I thought about this, I thought like, what would Jesus have done in that situation? How would Jesus have reacted when given the opportunity to split or steal with money on the line? And so I want to list out 3 different things I want to say in being vulnerable and initiating friendships. And the first one is that Jesus set the example. Second one is that Jesus saw people for their potential. The third one is that Jesus wasn't afraid to be the sucker. First one is Jesus set the example. I've put on here, Jesus set the example for us in that he loved someone who later betrayed him. Not only did he love someone who later betrayed him, but he knew he'd betray him. He called him out that he'd betray him. And yet, he still loved him. He still let him follow him for 3 years. This Hebrews 4:15 says, "For we do not have a high priest who is unable to empathize with our weaknesses, but we have one who has been tempted in every way, just as we are, yet he did not sin." And so what does that say for this Judas situation? Because whenever I first thought about this Judas story, I thought, Jesus, what were you thinking? This guy was going to betray you, you knew it, and you did it all along anyway. But we have to look at this and think that if he was perfect, as he claims and as this verse says, that he did not sin, that this is the example that we are to take. I have a friend of mine that went to a university before he came to UTD, and he studied the Bible with a guy his sophomore year. The guy was a junior. The whole year, they were best friends for a year. They met up every single week, and they shared their lives with one another. And then all of a sudden, one day, the older guy, the guy that isn't my friend, he just up and leaves. You know, they're supposed to meet up that week, and he doesn't show up. He's supposed to see him at their large group meeting, and he doesn't show up. Later finds out that the guy, I believe, dropped out of college, and maybe he didn't drop out of college, but he left the ministry completely because there was a girl that he liked, and he wanted to impress her, and she said, "You can't be in this ministry." And my friend was telling me this story and was talking about, he's like, why would this guy do this to me? You know, I put myself out there, and now I look like the sucker. I look like such a fool. And one thing that I've been trying to tell him, and this is so hard because this guy invested his life into this guy. And in college, a year feels like a lot longer than it is because you may only see them for a year. You know, it's a whole new rotation, even every semester sometimes. And one thing I've been trying to like tell this guy and is just that Jesus set the example, that he did what you did. He invested in a guy. The guy up and leaves him. Not only leaves him, but betrays him. And yet he still loved him. Next thing I want to talk about is that Jesus saw people for their potential. I put up here, Jesus saw the disciples based on their potential, not on their past or present lifestyles. That all these guys were, some of these guys were tax collectors, they were fishermen, and yet he saw them and he said, I'm going to do something with you. He said to Peter in Matthew 16:18, and I tell you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church. He said this not too long before Peter denied him 3 times after he went on the cross. 3 times in one night. And not only did Peter deny him, but he told Peter that he would deny him, and he still denied him. And Jesus still said he'd build his church on him. But Peter, but the rest of the disciples did the same thing. The rest of the disciples went out and they denied Jesus. Yet if you keep reading the story in Acts, these were the same disciples that the Bible says converted thousands, that met together, that went out and spoke to the crowds, that baptized. People repented after hearing these people. Jesus saw people for their potential. I was talking about Sirach and how big of an influence he's been in my life. I remember one day we were in his car my freshman year, and I came into college with, I don't know, I would say a pretty stubborn personality. I kind of felt like I'd been in church my entire life. I kind of felt like there wasn't maybe like a whole lot that I could learn that someone at least my age could teach me. Maybe I could learn more about the Bible, but everything that I already knew was pretty concrete in my mind. I remember Sirach and I were just debating in his car, and he just kept asking, like, where do you get that idea? Where do you get that idea? But in that same conversation, Sirach also asked me my thoughts on being a core leader. This was halfway through my freshman year. He'd only known me for a couple months. He also asked me my thoughts on doing an internship with Focus, which after you graduate, you can do a year-long internship where you're a campus pastor at a certain campus that Focus is at. And I look back on that, and I think about how Sirach didn't use my stubbornness as a reason to avoid leading me in towards God's kingdom and what God can do for me. But he said he saw my potential. He said, this guy has all these qualities, and I know that God can use him. I know that God can use him in big ways. There's so many people in my college career that have used what I've given them, which was usually a lot of stubbornness, and saw me for more than that. And I think that that's just such a good example about what we can see in people. Seeing people for their potential and not necessarily just for their past or present lifestyles. Last thing I want to talk about was that Jesus wasn't afraid to be the sucker. Put down here, Jesus wasn't afraid to be the sucker because being the sucker ended up being humanity's savior. I put it on this verse, Matthew 26:50. It says, do what you came for, friend. And if you look at this passage in Scripture, this was what Jesus told Judas whenever Jesus goes up and he tells the high officials, he says, the man I kiss is the man that you're to take. And he goes up and he kisses Jesus on the cheek, and he steps away, and Jesus just looks at him and he says, do what you came for, friend. Calls him friend. This guy just betrayed him, sending him to the cross for something this is an innocent man that he sent to the cross, and he still was able to call him friend. And I gotta think, like, why would Jesus do that? Why would Jesus choose to call this man his friend after everything that he'd done to him, after all the things that he'd invested in? Not to think about, or also to think about what people would have thought. Your best friends, or one of your friends are giving you up. This crowd is like one of Jesus' disciples, the one that turned him in. It wasn't even just like some some random Pharisee. It was one of his own guys that he sat with at the Last Supper during the Passover. I just can't imagine what people saw whenever they saw this picture, and yet Jesus still wasn't afraid to do it. And I feel like the reason for this is that Jesus had a bigger plan in mind, right? God's will. He said, "Not my will, but your will." He even prayed. He's like, "God, if you want to, take this responsibility away from me, but not my will, but your will." And God's will was something bigger. Jesus had to be the sucker in order to fulfill God's will. So the question I have for you today, and this is definitely shorter because I didn't expect to have as much time, is what does this mean for us? Because I'm in the same boat with you. I remember this year, or I just think of like my college experience. Every single year for college, there's probably about, 3,000-ish people that come to UTD for the first time. Freshmen, transfer students. They come and they're brand new. They just got out of high school. They're probably not living with their parents anymore. They may be states away from their parents. My roommate my first year was from Washington State. And I remember especially this year, we had an event, and it was Ultimate Frisbee. I got all these guys' phone numbers, and I was going to invite them all to core and to Focus, and they all seemed really excited to come. And I was excited to have them because they seemed like great guys. And a lot of them either never replied to my text messages, never replied to my phone calls, replied and said they weren't going to come, came the first week and never came again. And it was hard, right? I mean, I'd invited these guys into my life for a week, and they just kind of like ditched me. Some people didn't say why, and I kind of had to get over it. And it definitely wasn't, and it's not an easy feeling to be rejected. But one thing I do want to do is I want to commend this church, because I look around and I haven't been here for, I guess it's been a year and a half when I last came here probably. And I commend this church because I see plenty of new faces, which means that you're doing something right. And as I was typing up this sermon, that was kind of like one of my last thoughts. Is I'm like, wait, that's like what our church has been doing all along. I've seen such an awesome job in ministry here, in just inviting people. But one of the sad things is that I do I do miss some faces in here. There are people that, I spent years with whenever I was at this church that just aren't here anymore. And it hurts. It really does. It hurts. Even though I haven't been here in a while, it still hurts me. But that's just kind of what comes with it, right? You have to be willing to be vulnerable when you're initiating those friendships, because you never know what those people are going to do. The pastor that at the church that I go to in Dallas, he always says that you love someone whenever they can hurt you. And that's kind of easier to say. It's kind of easier said than done. To love someone to the point that if they just walk away, it's going to hurt. I can't imagine how much it hurt Jesus whenever Judas betrayed him. I can't imagine how much it hurt Jesus when Peter denied him 3 times after telling him that he would deny him. But that was kind of basically the thing that I wanted to bring today. I really appreciate getting to speak. This is something that I feel like has been really big for me in my college career. If you've thought about me or prayed for me or contacted me in any way in the past 3 years, I am deeply grateful for you. Deeply grateful. Because when I look at college, I can always refer, I know that if I were to ever have nothing left in college, nothing left in Dallas, I could come home to a church and have 100 people or more that would be there to support me. And I don't know a lot of people in my college that can say that for themselves. They may have a family, but they don't have a church family at home that loves me the way that I do. And so I thank you for coming and listening to me. I hope that you learned something. I want to finish off by saying that this is kind of an anniversary present for my parents. They're celebrating 29 years today. And so I just want to say that I love you, and I'm really proud of you for hanging in there. I know that guy isn't easy to live with. But I have such a great example here in my family and in my church family, and I just thank you so much for the example you've set and the foundation you've given me. And I hope to come back in a year and a half, a little over a year, and I'll have a bachelor's degree, and I can tell you about more great things that God's doing in my life and in Focus. And so thank you very much. Go ahead and come and clip.